You may remember this time last year when for Undertale's 5th anniversary, Toby Fox dropped a good heap of dialogue from a scrapped Undertale alarm clock app on Undertale.com. It features 9 character monologues interspersed with dialogue between the main characters of Undertale during a winter celebration they're spending together. Please go read all of it right now if you haven't. The lore implications that came out of this for both games are immense, and I want to try to touch on a couple of key takeaways to build upon theories about the larger story and mechanics of both the Undertale and Deltarune universes. Got a lot of thoughts, so bear with me. The first takeaway is regarding the relationship between Asgore and Rudy. In Asgore's nostalgic monologue, he recalls spending the holidays with Rudy, presumed to be the same Rudy holiday we meet in the Deltarune universe. Rudy loved the holidays, you know. Around that time of year, he'd put on his glowing red nose, and we'd walk into the night together, placing presents side by side in the snow. I was his Santa. He was my Rudolph. If Asgore is indeed alluding to a romantic relationship between himself and Rudy, the question is, did this relationship between Asgore and Rudy exist in Deltarune as well, and if so, what are the implications? Between Asgore and Toriel's divorce, dialogue with the server at QC's diner, and dialogue with Rudy himself, we know that something dramatic unfolded involving the Dreamer and the Holiday families, and unfortunately, we know that homophobia exists in the Deltarune universe, as evidenced by Rudy's dialogue with Chris in his hospital room and hometown. When interacting with the vase of roses in Rudy's hospital room, Rudy tells Chris, "Hey, I'm happy your dad brought me flowers, but roses? What is this, man? Beauty and the Beast? That ain't gonna work, man. We're both beasts." We don't see much in the way of homophobia in Undertale, though one scene does stand out. Toward the end of the True Pacifist run, Toriel puts herself between Alphys and Undyne to prevent them from kissing, crying out, "Not in front of the human." However, we know from the trophy in Asgore's bedroom, and Gerson's story about Toriel and Asgore, that they were once prolific committers of PDA in their own day. Now, maybe it's just that Toriel became more reserved in the years after leaving Asgore, but maybe there's more to this. Religious themes are intertwined with both the Undertale and Deltarune universes, from recurrent crosses in character and level designs to biblical references found in relation to certain hard mode enemies, for example, to the church in Deltarune and Chris's conversation with Father Alvin. Given that the bulk of religious references in Undertale are found in the ruins, and given the dialogue with Caddy in Deltarune, where she tells Chris, "Remember that time I played Truth or Dare with Azzy? I made him give me his first kiss. Then your mom found out he kissed someone, and I think she basically dialed 911. I swear your family went to church every single day that week." We can glean that Toriel is particularly devout. One important continuity between game worlds is that Toriel seems equally disgusted with Asgore in both Undertale and Deltarune. In Undertale, her ire feels warranted because we know that Asgore is responsible for the deaths of at least 6 human children. But in Deltarune, nothing so violent appears to have taken place. Could the same level of disgust be directed at her ex-husband not only for having an affair, but for having a relationship with another man? From here, I want to explore the effect that Toriel's religiousness and homophobia might be having on her children, and this is where we're going to get into fun theory conjecture territory like crazy. Let's go. Now, I don't know much about Homestuck, but I know enough to recognize that there are a couple of Homestuck references Toby has strewn about Undertale. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Homestuck a whole big meta story wherein the characters are playing a game that is also the world around them? Something like that. All this is to say that a copy of the game Undertale exists within the Undertale universe. Alfie's lab includes a gaming console that shows Frisk's movements on its screen, and there's something that looks like a game walkthrough written out on her desk. If Undertale is, in its own universe, a video game based on people who live in that world, who created it? First, we should touch on what is a world in the context of these games. In Undertale, we're told, in this world, to kill or be killed. In Deltarune, it's in this world, your choices don't matter. What comprises a world, and who controls that world's perimeters? Both questions represent persistent themes in each game. Let's think about Deltarune's Dark World. I can imagine the kind of games that Chris and Asriel might have entertained themselves with, playing make-believe in the school's unused classroom while Toriel wraps up her work. Chris already has a save file in the Dark World when you first begin, so did Chris and Asriel build the Dark World through the power of imagination when they were younger? Could Chris and or Asriel be the creators of Undertale? If I could ask Toby one question right now, it would be, what is Asriel studying in college? Because my theory is this: Undertale is a game Asriel and possibly Chris developed in the Deltarune universe. But why would they make a game in which Asriel has been nearly completely forgotten by the rest of the characters, and in which their sibling and their father are mass murderers of children? Let's look again at Toriel's disdain for her husband and how that could impact her children. Imagine 2 kids consistently exposed to their mother's poor opinion of their father, which is at least in part due to him being attracted to men. Could Asriel also be gay or maybe trans? The only real evidence we could find for this, something Izzy pointed pointed out is that in the bathroom in Deltarune, the can of Icy's Cool Boys body spray for the boys, flamin' hot pizza flavor, it seems to be almost entirely full. Could this be something that Toriel bought for one of her children, trying to force them into a certain level of masculinity? Could Undertale have originally been designed as a word of warning to Toriel, a message to appreciate the children she has, as they are, here and now, when the reality is that a number of universes could or do exist in which her children are dead or bordering on wholly non-existent? So to recap, we know that Asgore and Rudy were implied to have been in a romantic relationship in the world of Undertale. Did that relationship extend into the world of Deltarune as well, possibly in the form of an extramarital affair? We know that homophobia and religion are both present in Deltarune, particularly with regard to Toriel. We know she is still disgusted with Asgore, as disgusted as she is in Undertale, and is that a result of her homophobia, which we've already discussed. In case Asriel and or Chris are gay or trans, and if they likely created the Dark World, could they also have created Undertale? And could it have been created as a message to their parents to appreciate what they have? So in conclusion, this is just the tip of the damn iceberg, people, because we still need to talk about what the Holiday family was doing and all this, which brings us to Queen Cinnamon Theory. Rudy Holiday's wife is a character we have yet to meet in Deltarune. We know she's the mayor of Hometown, and that Noelle seems afraid of her. We don't have many clues about who she is, but listen, hear me out. Like back to Undertale, to the rabbit NPC in Snowden that's walking a smaller bunny on a leash. She says, "Isn't my little Cinnamon just the cutest?" There's a theme in both games regarding naming something, specifically a character, after oneself. Could Cinnamon be the name of this NPC as well? The rabbit kid adjacent to her tells you in neutral or pacifist runs, "That lady over there, something about her disturbs me." In a No Mercy run, it becomes, "That lady over there seems happy today. Don't know why, but it's sending shivers down my spine." This character represents a metric of how you're playing the game. She is unnerving, and also elements of her design are similar to Noelle's, namely her nose and her legs. In Deltarune, we know Asgore is renting his flower shop / apartment from someone with the initial C, who is brusque in the note they leave him demanding rent, in a tone that I think one can reasonably expect from someone whose spouse you cheated with. We also know about QC's diner in Hometown, which is staffed by rabbit NPCs. Could the mayor own both buildings, with QC's being named after her? Another evidence that her name might be Cinnamon, think about Rudy in the hospital when he tells Noelle, "When I first met your mother, I walked right up to her and told her she was a hot piece of work." He says as though that hot were a pun. Could her name be Cinnamon? But what does the Q stand for then? In Deltarune, Jewel references a queen who is more powerful than any other character and a knight who serves them. The only reference to a knight in Undertale, aside from the core enemy Night Knight, is said by Alphys in regard to Undyne. Undyne is a cop in the Deltarune universe. And who has authority over cops? Could the mysterious mayor indeed be a rabbit named Queen Cinnamon who runs the town and uses Undyne as her foot soldier? I don't know. We might find out tomorrow. Thank y'all for listening.